This is sample question paper Social Science of 2021, which is released by CBSE. Now we have done various questions. Coming to the source based question, case study based question. So we have a source, we have a content, the text will be there, and on the basis of this source the question will be asked. So we have to read it. One is 4 question weightage is good. So following the defeat of Napoleon in 1815, so we are talking about Napoleon 1850, European government were driven by a spirit of conservatism. Conservatives believed that established traditional institutions of state and society like the monarchy, the church, the social hierarchies, property and the family should be preserved. So we are talking about conservatives. Conservatives, their questions will be coming on this only, conservatives. Most conservatives, however, did not propose a return to the society of pre-revolutionary days. Pre-revolutionary, they don't want to go to those days, conservatives. Rather, they realized that the changes initiated by Napoleon, that modernization could in fact strengthen traditional institutions like the monarchy. It could, means whatever Napoleon has started, let us, put it forward and take it forward. It could make state power more effective and stronger. A modern army, an efficient bureaucracy, a dynamic economy, the abolition of feudalism, the serfdom could strengthen the autocratic monarchies of Europe. So all these, good army, good bureaucracy, economy. In 1815, representatives of the European powers who had collectively defeated Napoleon met at Vienna to draw up a settlement for Europe. So now they are meeting at Vienna, okay, about the future of Europe. So this is important, Vienna. The Congress was hosted by the Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich. So he hosted it, Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich. The delegates drew up the Treaty of Vienna of 1815. So this is important, Treaty of Vienna 1815, with the object of undoing most of the changes that had come about in Europe during the Napoleonic War. So all the changes, they want to undo it. The Bourbon dynasty, which has been deposed during the French revolutions, was restored to power. So this was, it was restored to power, and France lost the territories it has annexed under Napoleon. So basically, to limit France, this all was happening under Napoleon. A series of states were set up on the boundaries of France to prevent French expansion in future. Okay, so this is how the French restriction and other future of Europe, the Treaty of Vienna is. So now let us come to the question, and now we are very clear about this. Which of the following statement correctly described about European conservative ideology? So what we see here by this discussion is preservation of traditional beliefs in state and society. So they wanted the preservation of traditional beliefs in state and society. They don't want to go back, but still they want, if you see here, they wanted it to be there. Conservatives believed what to be preserved? All traditional institutions. So the answer you will get from the content only. So all answers will be from here only. Identify the purpose to convene the Vienna of Congress in 1815 from the following options. The answer what we saw here by the content we read, and this is to restore conservative regime in Europe. To restore conservative regime in Europe. 1815 Treaty of Vienna Congress in 1815. See, this all happened because of what Napoleon did. What did conservatives focus on at the Congress of Vienna? Select the appropriate option. So conservative focused on what in this treaty, on this discussion? The answer is they wanted to re-establish peace and stability in Europe. The problem was under a certain regime, especially the people and person and the country we talked about, the stability and the peace was not there. They wanted that the peace and stability need to be restored, need to be re-established in this part of the world, Europe. How did the Congress of Vienna ensure peace in Europe? Select the appropriate option. So how they are going to restore or ensure the peace? The answer is laying out a balance of power between the great powers in Europe. So previously, you can see certain people were having enough power. They are immensely powered, and they were trying to defeat everyone which come into their way. But here they wanted to balance the power between all the great powers in Europe. That is how this Treaty of Vienna happened. Okay, those powers that time are not the powers we have right now, right? Now again, and this is about the manufacturing industries, not only help in modernizing agriculture, which forms the backbone of our economy, they also reduce the heavy dependence of people on agriculture income by providing them jobs in secondary and tertiary sectors. So primary, secondary and tertiary, these are three sectors. One more, quaternary is also there. So primary sector, everything which is coming from the ground, from the earth, from the soil, means naturally occurring, like agriculture, like mining, all these primary. Secondary is all the manufacturing and the factories or anything which is dependent on the product which has come from the primary sector. Now for supporting the primary and secondary, we need to have a tertiary sector as well. So agriculture, manufacturing industry is modernizing it as well. Okay, and it is also the backbone. So agriculture, see, what you make is eventually dependent, one is dependent on another. So eradication of unemployment and poverty from our country, industrial development is a precondition for that. So when we have industrial development, there are, say, 5 people are working for the place of 10, or you can say otherwise, when we have in agriculture 10 people are working where only 5 people can work and complete the work. So this was the main philosophy behind public sector industry and joint sector ventures in India. These are public sector means government industries. Joint sector means government and private, they come together. So this was the main philosophy. It was also aimed at bringing down regional disparities of establishment industries in tribal and backward areas, especially those are tribal place. What is the disparity between the income, the level of education, the poverty, everything need to be taken control. Export of manufactured good expands trade and commerce and brings in much needed foreign exchange. So if you export, you will get money. That is, you will get dollars. And that is how you grow. Countries that transform their raw material into a wide variety of finished group of higher value are prosperous. Those who produce and they sell to international market, they get money, they get prosperous. Okay. India's prosperity lies in increasing and diversifying its manufacturing industries as quickly as possible. So this India can also do. Agriculture and industry are not exclusive of each other. They are interdependent. Industry will work on agriculture products only, and agriculture will be benefited by the industry because of the modernization equipment they get. So they are not exclusive, they are together. They move hand in hand. For instance, the agro industries in India have given a major boost to agriculture by raising its productivity. So what we learned from here, let us see what are the question asking. First is manufacturing industries fall in dash and agriculture in dash. So manufacturing industry, close your eyes and just do it secondary. Okay, it's secondary. And what agriculture? Agriculture is coming from where? From soil, it's naturally occurring. It's primary sector. So secondary and primary is the answer for the first one. Now coming to here, manufacturing provides job opportunities to reduce dependence on agriculture. Identify which sector the following jobs belongs to. So manufacturing, agriculture, that is, basically is primary, secondary and tertiary. Answer the option and quaternary also. I'm just saying that 10 people are working where only 2 or 3 or 5 are required. So some may go to manufacturing also, tertiary or secondary. Now garment production. What is garment production? See, it's secondary. Anything manufactured or production goes to secondary. Now banking, here you see, it's not primary even, it is not secondary even. And is it tertiary? Is it tertiary? Yes, it is. See, let me tell you about research and development first. Now, research and development is neither primary nor secondary, neither tertiary also. It is not supporting or helping these primary, secondary or tertiary. So basically research and development is a different wing. So it is quaternary. See, if you have any primary or secondary, it has primary, secondary is related to primary. So research and development is quaternary, right? It's not coming into all these three categories. So I was talking about banking now. So what is this? It's tertiary. Banking is required when manufacturing is done, when any production is done. Mining, you are taking the minerals out of what? From the ground, from the earth. So basically this is mining activity is primary activity. Whatever God is given us, whatever we are taking, what in the natural form, that is primary. And when you will take this to other manufacturing, then it will be going to the secondary one. So this B is the answer. Which of the following options does not help in modernizing agriculture? Modernizing agriculture. So, in order to modernize agriculture, you need to have skilled peoples, good, different machines. So, what is not? The answer is providing unskilled labor force. So, labor force which is not skilled. As I just gave you example, people are working, but they are working without they are required. But if you know how to run a tractor, how to do some skilled activity in agriculture, you are actually modernizing it. In order to attract foreign manufacturing firms, a country needs to develop what? So if you want people to come here, that is foreign company to come here, what do? If you have agriculture only, people will not come. They need infrastructure, they need setup, they need proper, machinery, political even, government even, and private also. For example, if you are making SEZ, Special Economic Zone, the infrastructure you have made very good, the transport is very good, the airports are very good, the facilities, the light facility, electricity, water is good, people will come here. So that is how infrastructure facility is a better answer of this in order to attract foreign manufacturing firms. For example, ITs, because we have provided in Bangalore, in Hyderabad, we have provided the facility. That is why this infrastructure facilities we have provided. That is why we have IT hub now. Pune is growing, Gurgaon is going, Noida is going because of this only. Okay, now I'm reading this now. So all the answers will come here only. So need to just give some time, 2-3 minutes, and it all will be answered. In a democracy, we are most concerned with ensuring that people will have the right to choose their rulers and people will have control over the rulers. Democracy. For people, by the people. Whenever possible and necessary, citizens should be able to participate in decision making that affects them all. Decision making, people should be involved. Therefore, the most basic outcome of democracy should be that it produces a government that is accountable to the citizens. If we have chosen someone, they have to be accountable to us and responsible to the needs and expectation of the citizens. That is, citizen is asking what? If we want X, we should get X, not Y. Okay. For example, CAA and the farmer bills, they are not required, but the government is giving us, even if we don't want. So, citizen is very important, right? Some people think that the democracy produces less effective government. Some think that. It is of course true that the non-democratic rulers are very quick and efficient in decision making and implementation, whereas democracy is based on the idea of deliberation and negotiation. In China, when the COVID happened, they in 7 days to 10 days, they actually made hospitals. Is it possible in our democracy? I don't think so. So because in a democracy there is a lot of deliberation and negotiation is required, right? But it will be good. What democracy we need is everyone's good should happen. So some delay is bound to take place, but because it has followed procedure, its decision may be both more acceptable to the people and more effective. Because everyone is involved. Everyone is everyone's good is taken into consideration. Moreover, when citizens want to know if a decision was taken through the correct procedure, they can find this out. They know it. They have the right and means to examine the process of decision making. We have RTI 2005. So now we can know what government is doing, what the government people are doing. This is known as transparency. It should be open to everyone. This factor is often missing from a non-democratic government. Non-democratic government can do by whatever they decide. People have to follow this. Okay, they are not answerable. There is another aspect in which democratic government is certainly better than its alternatives. And democratic government is legitimate government because of free and fair elections. It may be slow, less efficient, not always very responsive or clean. Some corruption is already there, always there. But a democratic government is people's own government. So this is all about the democracy, the rights, etc. So come here. First is people right to choose their own rulers is called as it's called a right to vote. Universal suffrage. Right to vote is the answer. We choose our ruler. People, citizen of the country, they elect their ruler. Right from the Nigam Parshad, that is the councillor or corporator, till the MP. Which of the following options help in promoting transparency in the governance? So, as we know, in 2005 what happened? Congress government, they passed RTI Act. Right to Information 2005. Now you can ask the government through simple RTI that tell me all these, and they are bound to answer you. They are bound to give you the response. So they are answerable. Government is answerable to you, to the people of this country. Dash makes the government legitimate. As I just said, who makes it? Free and fair election. That is, free and fair election only make the government legitimate, because if the elections are not free and fair, how can you say the government is legitimate? For example, you voted for BJP, the vote is going to Congress. So you are trying to elect BJP people, but Congress is winning. So this is not free and fair. It can also happen the otherwise also. You are voting for Congress and BJP is always winning. So free and fair election is the precursor of government being legitimate. Decisions in democracy are more acceptable to the people because they are. Why people are accepting everything? Because everything is by them, for them. See how the bill are formed, how the laws are formed. The laws and bills are not formed by just like that. First of all, there will be a bill, there will be a minister, and depending upon the requirement of the people, requirement of the farmer, requirement of the individual, they will make a draft. And this draft of requirement will go to the standing committee of the parliament. Now they will just scrutinize it, give the recommendation. For example, just take the example of this Kisan bill. Now the Kisan farmers are not wanting it. The government is still, eager to give them those that they don't want. Now coming here, Ford Motors, an American company, is one of the world's largest automobile manufacturers with production spread over 26 countries of the world. That is, it's an MNC. Ford Motors, 26 countries. Ford Motors came in India 1995, spent 1700 crores to set up a large plant near Chennai. Came 1995 near Chennai, 1700 crore. This was done in collaboration with Mahindra & Mahindra, major Indian manufacturer of Jeep and truck. Mahindra, we know everyone knows it. So they were making Jeeps and trucks, so they collaborated. By the year 2004, Ford Motors was selling 27,000 cars in Indian markets, while 24,000 cars were exported from India to South Africa, Mexico, Brazil. So they were making for India also, for others also, because it's an MNC, multinational company. Therefore, the company wanted to develop Ford India as a component supplying base to its other plants across the globe. So there are different plants in different countries. The component should go from India. That is how they wanted to. They wanted to see India as their company hub. Now the questions, right? The passage given above relates to which of the following options? Okay. First, company came and it did foreign investment. Now, foreign collaboration can also be the answer, but it is not, because initially foreign investment was being talked, then Mahindra and Mahindra was talked about. Ford came, it invested this much of amount, 1700 crore, and then collaborated Mahindra. So the answer can be foreign collaboration also, but the better answer is foreign investment. Please understand this. Okay. If they would have given Mahindra and Mahindra first, then we would have given C as the correct answer. I hope you got the idea. Foreign investment 1700 crores is more important than the collaboration. Every company which goes to any other country, they need to have a collaboration. Otherwise, how do they know? According to the given passage, Ford Motor can be termed as a MNC multinational company based on which of the following options? Now, we saw 26 setups. Is whatever they are making here. 27,000 for Indian markets and nearly equal for the export also. South Africa, Mexico and Brazil. And the component, they wanted to make India as a component hub. So the answer here is industrial and commercial ventures across globe. They were making it, they were selling it all over globe. By setting up their production plants in India, Ford Motors wanted to. Why they had plants in India? Tap the benefits of low cost production in large market. See, I'll just give an example or give you statistics. We are around 135 crores, 135 crore people. 140 is China. Now we are second number in population and we are just behind them. So whatever you do in India, whatever product you put in India, you will be benefited for sure. Because there will always be an audience, there will always be a buyer, customer for any product you produce here. That is how Patanjali has become multi-crore venture. Okay. So, and those people, India has a young population more. So they need work. So when you come and you'll get the people working also. Ford Motor wish to develop Ford India as a component supplying base for its other plants across the globe is an evidence of. They wanted to sell the component also. What is the basis? So the answer is interlinking of production across countries, because they will be making, say, bodies made somewhere else, the components are made somewhere else, say the headlights are made somewhere else, say the security things are made somewhere else, the tires are made somewhere else. So this is how an interlinking of production across countries will take place. You see, US, Mexico, if you send something from India to US, beneficial is to send from Mexico to US. So this is how companies see where it is profitable to work, because they are private companies, they need profit. Okay. So this is how interlinking of production across countries is the correct answer here. Okay, this is section number D. Now this part we are going to take in the next discussion. Okay, till then, thank you so much. Take care of yourself.